Sawadee krab, and welcome to Think Pink Podcast. I'm going to be broken up into a few little bits. I've been a little bit unwell, so just if my voice lasts, it lasts. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I just, been trying to fit it in today, get it out of the way while it's, still Thursday. I did part 2 earlier today, and now I'm back home for a little bit. So what I wanted to get onto the subject of is the mental change when you go into fight prep. It doesn't matter if you're an amateur or a pro. Like, as amateurs, there should be nothing really changed. Slight intensity change, that's about it. But definitely, like, you see a lot of people, they get to the point where, okay, we're, I don't know, 3-4 weeks out from fighting, and it's all right, time to up a level, time to step it up. And then all of a sudden they're having days off, they're doing shitter in training, like totally changing the mentality to the whole, oh fuck, here we go. Like, it's not the mentality to have. Honestly, like, the reason why you chose to be a fighter is because you love the sport, right? So the only mentality change should be, all right, let's do what we've been doing, up the intensity. That should be the only change. You should be already eating well. You should be already sleeping well. You should already be training good. You should already be fit. Then you just up the intensity for the last few weeks. It's getting ridiculous just how much, people mentally get into that place of, like I just mentioned, oh, here we go. Man, yeah, here we go. It's time to have the fun part. You chose this sport. The sport isn't making you do it. I'm not making anyone be a fighter, for one. If you don't want to be a fighter, don't fucking be one. But if you're gonna be, just put in. You need to have that little bit of drive just to do what you've been doing already a little bit harder. It's not, oh man, now I've got to put in the hard work. No, you should always be working hard. You should always be, a couple of days a week smashing it, and the rest of it just cruising along. You've got to have the days where you're on, where you're off. Then when you're in fight prep, you smash it. You just got to up that intensity. The only mental change should be, I'm now focused on, 4 weeks away where I want to be the strongest, the fittest, the best version of myself I can be. So I've got no excuses when the time comes and I jump in there. The more you hate your training, whether you hate the training bit, whether you hate the nutrition bit, man, these are the things you've got to fix outside of fight prep. It is no different to what I've been over with people where they get to fight prep and their wife, or say their wife starts complaining they're never around. Yes, because you didn't make up for it outside of the time. You didn't fix the problem outside of the time. Or it's your schoolwork goes to shit because all of a sudden your focus is on your Muay Thai and you're not doing your schoolwork properly. Well, outside of those times is when you should be really focusing on getting that stuff done. Same sort of thing. If nutrition is the bit you hate, man, that's what you need to focus on getting right outside of fight preps. So that when you do go into fight prep, it's not like, oh my God, here we go again. If you don't like training hard, get used to training hard outside of fight prep, so it's not like, oh, here we go again. Do you see the pattern here? You've got to fix the things outside of fight preps so that when you go into fight prep, it's not going to be tedious for you because you're mentally prepared for it. We're coming up to the last shows of the year. Our last show of the year is next weekend. And, there was an option for December, but I've decided, fuck it, I'm not doing it. I want to now see people now continuing on all the way through to the first shows of next year. I want to see them be able to continue on, not smashing it 1 or 2 days a week, but focused on fixing what the problem is. Because it's actually like beyond ridiculous, the fact that you're choosing this sport, but then when you go into fight prep, everything goes to shit. It's actually, you're just looking for an excuse, and excuses are for losers. Sorry, and I'm not one for losers. If you don't want to be a fighter, tell me, and fine, don't be a fighter. All right, on to part number 2. Topic number 2, C-class fights in Thailand. The comparison of a C-class fight in Thailand is like, you know, you're fighting in Chiang Mai, maybe in Phuket, in Patong Stadium, or in Bangla Stadium, but it's the low-class shows, the shows that don't have social media presence and stuff like that. I'm a believer that, you know, like, mainly I would say the Chiang Mai fights, because they're such a low level. I don't think they should really affect whether you're a pro or an amateur in Australia, if you've just been fighting there for the first 2 or 3 fights. I'd say if you've had 2 or 3 fights in, say, Galea Stadium or Loi Stadium or something like that, I don't think it should automatically turn you pro here in Australia, because there's such a low level. You know, it's once you know, maybe you rack up 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 fights, whatever. You start racking up the fights there, and you start beating some of their bigger names they have in the stadium, then it's different. Then, okay, you need to then check yourself and go, oh, I'm not going to go back to Australia and jump back into like Muay Vic or Muay New South Wales. There is a huge difference between fighting in Thailand unpadded and fighting pro style. There's a huge difference. I think at some point the amateur promoters in Australia are going to have to realise that and go, okay, we need to know, man, have video footage, film your fights, so you can send it to the promoter when you're still, you know, nominating as an amateur. Send it to the promoter and go, this is it, this was the fight. Tell me, was it pro? Because just because it's unpadded doesn't mean it's pro in Thailand, like, as such. It's a grassroots level. Grassroots level is like our amateurs. It's just unpadded. I know people, you know, people will try and find a loophole and, you know, oh, I had this fight and that. Yeah, but you fought in fucking Rajaman, mate. You fought at a I don't know, Sinbi show that was like highly promoted. You fought on one of the bigger Bangla shows, whatever. You've got to be honest, and I'd probably retract the start bit where I say about the Phuket Stadium, because there's not so much of it there, of the, you know, unless you're, you know, jelly bean fighting a jelly bean, you know, like the first fight on the card and stuff. That's a little bit different, but yeah, I think there needs to be, you know, some sort of line drawn where just because you fought in Thailand doesn't mean you're a pro.
Okay, topic number 3. This one is where you have well-credentialed trainers, you know, whether they're in the same gym or whether it's through different spaces where you are training. Both are well-credentialed, but they're giving you conflicting advice. This is what I find the biggest problem with cross-training at other gyms is, where people are like, oh man, you should be able to just train everywhere. Man, that's okay if everyone's communicating. I have some guys who come and train from other gyms, train with me part-time, but myself and their trainer communicate and talk about, you know, what they expect, what I expect, how they want them to fight. If it's their fighter, then it's totally up to them, and then I just complement it. But you can't be going to all these different gyms, learning this, learning that. Man, there's 5 different ways to skin a cat. This is the thing. You know, there's certain ways that are in Muay Thai right and wrong, and then there's, you know, 5 to 10 ways that are right with each little thing. Some people step out to kick, some people step forward to kick. This is the thing that my guys are noticing. I send my guys to Manop Gym in Chiang Mai. They step forward to kick, and they'll always correct you on that. Cool. You're learning from someone who knows what they're talking about, and then you're going to find out what works for you. But if you don't have the communication between the trainers to understand the whys, if one trainer doesn't understand why another trainer is saying whatnot, or your trainer doesn't know that the other trainer has said this, if their trainer's in the same gym, they should be communicating anyway. Everyone should be on the same page. You should be, if they're not, then you speak to them and you say, can you please maybe discuss between you what you're wanting from me, because I'm a little bit confused with conflicting information. Man, if anyone's getting butthurt by that, there's a fair chance they've got a bit of an ego and they don't want the best for you anyway. Because, you know, if I've got one guy teaching one thing and I'm trying to teach something else, if I see that what they're teaching is working, cool. I'm not gonna tell them not to do it. You know, I had Panna in Thailand. He's like, man, they want me stepping forward to kick. I'm struggling with it. I go, do it. Do what they're telling you to do. I have faith in them as trainers, so do what they're telling you to do. Later on, you can figure out whether you like it or not. My missus said the same thing when she went there. She did the stepping forward thing and it worked perfectly for her. She didn't have a problem with it at all. Ah, okay. There you go. It works for some people. But this is where you've got to have the communication. Man, it comes back, almost every problem comes back to the same thing. Fucking talking. Just talk. Communicate with your trainer, communicate with your trainers. If you're training at more than one gym, those trainers need to be communicating. It's as simple as that. I'm going to leave it at that for today. I can already feel my voice going, and then we'll get on to it again next week. Hope you guys all have a great weekend, and remember, next week is Pride Fight Series. Make sure you get your tickets. Tickets are at pridefightseries.com.au. Get on there, get them ASAP, because it will sell out for sure. Until then, thank you very much. Khop khun krap.